You've mentioned that the king and the patriarch are connected. And when one reads evolutionary anthropology or biology, we see the fact presented that the primary function of the patriarch, the primary function of the male in the pair bond is as a protector. Protecting comes before providing. And if the protector role is the core of masculinity, the core of patriarchy, in what way does the monarch function as a protector? How can the monarch protect the nation from the oligarchy?
To be honest, that's really what the monarch does. That's his, secular purpose. Just to use the example of Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan the Fourth, who was a great man, nothing but myths going back centuries around the guy. All of his reactions, the creation of his elite military corps and all this, come from the fact that he was born and raised in a system that was struggling. You had oligarchical clans killing each other. They had their own private armies. They had their own intelligence services. They all had these foreign investments that were making deals with the enemies of the country. And you have a monarch developing with, even as a young man, a strong nationalist, a strong Orthodox man. And they knew that he was a threat. He knew that he was going to force them to stop this kind of thing. And they tried to kill him. They killed his wife. They killed those close to him. So you want to call him paranoid? Well, he had every reason to be. And he had to act quickly to arrest those who were going to destroy the country, to create a military force that was loyal entirely to him, the Opportuna, and to do what he had to do. Sometimes it was very harsh. I'm not sure what choice he had. This is a war-torn society. It's like the Taliban in Afghanistan. How do you handle a society that's so torn by war and poverty-stricken, where morals have collapsed, religion has collapsed? How do you rebuild it? Well, liberal democracy can't rebuild it. It's impossible. That you're putting the country in the hands of those who are debased. So the monarchy, in times of stress, in times of struggle, have to be free to take action. The American Constitution, for example, was written with a lot of assumptions in mind. And one of them is that there's not going to be a huge crisis coming up. The way that the legal system functions, talk about the invasion of gangs from Latin America, massive drug gangs that are far wealthier than any police department is. That constitutional legal system is not equipped to deal with this massive invasion. It's equipped to deal with the normal run-of-the-mill problems that a healthy society has. The war on drugs is ridiculous. I've never heard of a war where every enemy soldier gets a lawyer and a court case. Of course, the problem is the modern American society is not equipped to deal with this. On the other hand, Ivan IV, Basil II in Byzantium, and many others were. They believed in the common good, and they had the freedom to organize forces to smash the enemies of the society, both internally and externally. And that's their job. That's their entire thing, including those who want to overthrow them because they're not making enough money. They want to be more secure in their caste. They want to exploit everyone they want. That's the nature of liberalism. That's where liberal democracy came from. That's where republicanism came from. The murder of the king and the takeover for your own interests, and usually hiding behind something else, including a king maybe that you can manipulate. So that's the nature of protection, that he has to be able to be free to smash these crises that society is not expecting, knowing full well that the elite of the society will do anything in their power to maintain their standard of living and to increase it. And in Russian history, you see this all over the place. The oligarchs were willing to do anything to make deals with the worst enemies of the country, who then promised them to keep them secure in their money, whatever it took. God, you see it even in medieval Ireland, the first British colonization. We'll give you a new title. We'll give you firmer title to your land, and that way you come over to us. The Romans did the same thing. And so they're willing to sign over themselves in exchange for something like that. The monarchy is designed to smash those movements. Liberal democracy can't handle anything like that. What's going on in America, what's going on in Europe with the migrant invasion, these societies aren't equipped for this. They're equipped for normal, homogenous systems and moral consensus. Without that, they're paralyzed. This is why there's military coups. This is why military takes over. In Latin, I have a book on defending the military governments of Latin America. This is why they take over, because everything is falling apart. Society is collapsing. The currency is collapsing. And politicians usually have no idea what's going on, are being controlled by exactly the people who are starting the problem in the first place. And society gets worse and worse. Elections mean nothing. And so the military is usually the only rationally patriotic and organized force in society takes over. And that's why they're very popular and they do very well. That's the protective nature of monarchy, and the notion of a central authority. Putin did it in Russia, Chung-Hee Park in South Korea. There's thousands of examples of how a weak system has to be overthrown, and a monarch or some version of a monarch takes over and uses force to reform it, usually with great success. That's their protective function.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and unless you've got that strong authority figure, then you get people vying against one another continually to take that place. And there's a lack of stability and security. And you see it not just on the level of the nation, but back down to where we started with the individual family as well. Boys in particular seem to struggle with the lack of a strong male authority figure. So that makes a lot of sense, linking the patriarch and the monarch in terms of the protector role.